All right, bye.
Farnborough is kicking off amid, of course, a really volatile environment in terms of the aviation industry, but also the global economy and geopolitics that continues to shape and have a real direct impact on airlines specifically. On the other hand, there is, of course, the defense angle, and this, I think, this year is very much a defense show because of what's happening around the world in so many different markets. It's driven up the demand and the interest, states, private companies, and so on, to assess their defense needs. And so I think, unlike previous editions of the air show, this is very much one being viewed under a defense lens.
But this is for your cruise missiles, for an operator, you will understand.
It's very much about defense, and that is because aviation as a sector remains inherently exposed to just about everything, and with geopolitics shaping the operating environment in so many markets across the world, not just the obvious conflict right now in the Middle East, it is leading states to have those conversations to ensure that they have what is necessary as they future plan in terms of defense, as countries decide to increase their defense spending and then assess where that spending will be allocated. And so Farnborough, especially this year, has actually been the showcase as to what is possible for governments, for private sector and so on to ensure they're part of that allocation and they're part of that increase in defense spending that's happening across the world right now.
There's a helicopter up there, it's the camera fed.
So demand remains strong across the board, but ultimately the number one thing driving airlines to place orders at the moment is the fact that it takes an incredibly long time for the manufacturers to try and deliver, to try and keep up with that demand. They are struggling, and they have been, because of the supply chain crisis, because of everything that's happening geopolitically. The timelines are not being met, and ultimately airlines are receiving aircraft delayed or having those slots pushed back. And so airlines are having to take these decisions now, if only to lock themselves in to ensure that they can continue to receive aircraft and not be left without over the next decade. So the air travel sector right now globally is operating in an incredibly volatile market, and fuel is the number one overhead for any airline. It's about 30% of total expenses, and fuel is raging. The jet fuel price has never been as high as this year because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and all of the fallout with everything that's happened as a result. With that, it does mean that we're looking at higher fares across the board for the foreseeable, specifically next year. The fares that you go on and check now are those that have already been predetermined pre-crisis. But ultimately, as the effects continue to trickle down and there is no clear end in sight, we're looking at higher fares across the board. We're looking at passengers paying more for the routes that they used to fly over previous years compared with, for example, next year.
There were 1,595 total A350 family orders and deliveries by the end of June this year. Airbus has delivered a total of 725 A350s, which is flying.
So sustainable aviation fuel will be probably the most effective key in aviation decarbonising. And Airbus just announced here today a relationship with Air Canada. That's an example of a manufacturer and an airline coming together to try to explore Canada as a state, its capability in really driving forward those sustainable aviation fuel goals. But it comes down to production. And we need more. There simply isn't enough sustainable aviation fuel to go around, and so far that hasn't changed. No matter the interest, no matter the commitment, if there isn't that production, we're not going to get anywhere with this. And so it's up to the fuel suppliers, it's up to government, and at the moment everyone's pointing at each other trying to take responsibility. But ultimately, if they can up production, then this industry has committed that it is ready to take on that as a tool, because SAF will be the way that aviation decarbonises.
It offers a standard 9 abreast economy, complemented with premium economy, which is 8 abreast,